From your report, it emerges an important point that is strictly related to what you just said. It says that from Salafi jihadist documents, it is shown that they reference to the Quran more than the mainstream documents from moderate Islam documents and texts. So how is it possible? What's the reason for such a disproportionate level of references in extremist documents and texts?
The question is very relevant about how extremists apparently are more Quranic or more faithful to the Quran than the mainstream, because it might appear that such groups can claim to be rooted in the Islamic tradition, but actually, although they quote the Quran 5 times more than mainstream sources, they're using a very narrow section of the Quran. They recourse to very few verses in order to make their argument, whereas mainstream texts use much greater breadth across the Quran. In fact, there's an example of this. We analysed the verses of the Quran that refer to both Mecca and Medina. The surahs are split into two, and the sections of the Quran that refer to the Muslim community after its migration to Medina, which are much more concerned about community action, about the corporate identity of the Islamic community and what it should do, are heavily overrepresented in Salafi jihadi texts, whereas the Meccan verses, much more concerned about personal piety, about the kind of individual responsibilities of a Muslim, are notably absent from Salafi jihadi Quranic quotations. So I think these give you an indication that while these groups rely on the Quran heavily, they're using a very small part of it, and they're really using it as a source material to kind of convince other people of the legitimacy of their message.